Well, hello everyone. Don Garman here again. I always say that when things are a little more roiled and a little more uncertain, I will attempt to check in more frequently. That is certainly the case now. Obviously, the last time we chatted, we were in the immediate aftermath of the Silicon Valley bank run, and obviously from there, the bank runs continued to spread. Obviously, Signature, I won't go through them all, but got right up to the waterline of First Republic yesterday, where they were in, and maybe are, but certainly were in a high amount of distress yesterday. I've said to anyone who's checked in with me personally via text or call, I take no joy or pride or happiness in any of this. I think it's all, confidence is a core part of our system, certainly where the banks are concerned. And while I hope that this fever that certainly appears might have broken and might be past for the moment, certainly I hope it does break in a sustained way for a while. But I'm going to share something perhaps a little more philosophical and a little longer term, which is I got a great opportunity to spend a couple days with my family up in the mountains and got to witness, amounts of snow. Certainly, I've never seen, and however many years I've been going to Tahoe, it's quite a sight to behold up there. That's after a few years of, really, really bleak conditions on the water and snow front for all of California. And it got me to thinking. The last 3 years have been incredible in the amount of change that we've all been put through and endured. And where we're talking about bank runs and the effects of 3 years ago today, quite literally, the economy was shut down. I actually looked back at my schedule 3 years ago today, and the few weeks before it, where it was populated with the normal appointments that I would have been, participating in the normal course of my work weeks. Then obviously there was a bit of darkness for a few days where there was a lot of cancels altogether. And then as 3 years ago today, there is a repopulation of all of these Zoom meetings. And some of the aftermath of that is how we do the videos even now, which is we do it via Zoom and a Zoom recording. So in all the comparisons and the metaphors that can be drawn, that was a violent uh, uh, action, and we can now look back and debate whether it was necessary. But what it did do is it produced enormous policy response on the part of the government. And I've referred to this as that bullwhip that's just whipping its way through all these different segments of our society and our lives in a very real way. And it's dramatic and it's unsettling. And the I think the best thing we can say is we've avoided the massive damage that many groups and people have sustained to their own vessel over that amount of time. And I've said it a million different ways, but a lot of times avoiding being precisely wrong is a key. It's a key attribute of long-term success. The people that get blown up along the way, it just creates massive math problems that take many, many, many years and excellent poker play to be, to get back to where you were. So I got the call over the weekend about the market, the stock market. What are we doing in the stock market? What do we think in the stock market? And now we're in a sustained period of really having gone nowhere the last couple of years, the market itself. Over a 3 year period, of course, taken after the immediate COVID whoosh, our trailing three is fantastic, as many people's is. Trailing four, still good. So it is a little bit like that hike where we have made a lot of progress over the last 3 years, even though it doesn't feel like we've made a lot of progress recently. And that is the way it goes sometimes. That's why in all of the professional sports, you hear about patience a lot. And patience, you can't play every hole. You can't play every play. You can't play every down the same, no matter what. You have to have some situational awareness. So my own feeling about the stock market itself is a bit like, call it a pair of twos as a poker hand. It's not the worst hand. It's not the best hand. And it's not a hand that you are generally rewarded for playing recklessly aggressively. It's not, it's an easy hand to be beaten. So it rewards patience. And so that's why, if you think about our core positioning, it's a very balls of our feet, almost protected in either instance position. Because if things were to pull back more drastically, as many people believe they will, as earnings estimates come down for the remainder of this year, prices ought to come down, and we have to be prepared for that. And similarly, if there happens to be another 10 or 15% upside, we don't want to be in a position to miss all of that. So what we can say objectively is we have made a ton of progress in the last 3 years, and the yield of the strategies across the board are higher than they've been in 15 years. So we are in every real way getting paid to wait and see, which way it breaks, if it is going to break. And there is certainly an outcome where we just kind of grind along. The last 6 to 9 months have been rotations in and out of things. Last year, Chevron had a wonderful year. This year, it's mean reverting. It's not having as good of a year as some of the things that had terrible years last year. So a lot of this is, can you coin flip perfectly? It's not really the approach, and it isn't what we're trying to do over the long term. We do have to build a strategy that will sustain us in unknown circumstances in the future. And so that's if you go through the holdings piece by piece, that's what you'll see that we've done. So anyhow, I just wanted to share those thoughts. It's another crazy period. I hope that people that the government has provided enough perceived confidence in the banking system that I've never gotten more calls about where is cash and is cash safe. And it's very interesting because, as and even the cash at Silicon Valley Bank ultimately got backstopped, but backstopping all of the uninsured deposits everywhere, I think, is a different and difficult proposition, and one that maybe they're working out how to get from where we are to something a little bit more realistically doable. But I will leave that to the experts to figure out the policy around that. For now, the calls have stopped. Nobody is trying to move cash in. I would say, anecdotally, Schwab has been the beneficiary of an enormous amount of inflows, even from our clients, out of banks in the last couple of weeks, and I understand why. And so this is kind of where we are, and we all have a duty, or certainly we have a duty, to look out for the people who have entrusted us to help them make these calls, and we've certainly done our very best at that. And so far, so good. Good to see some green yesterday and today. And if the fevers pass, that would be certainly welcome in my mind. And as always, we thank you and we appreciate you. And if you have any questions about this or anything else, please reach out, and we'll talk to you soon.